Oh man, Foo Fighters, that's a cool entrance song. All right, howdy. My name is John Bursler. If I haven't met you, I'd love to meet you afterward. And as Sheree mentioned, and thank you for the kind words and the kind introduction, I love to connect people and connect with folks, really to not only get to know you, but also understand the experience of the customers that we all serve, the veterans, families, caregivers, and survivors. That's how we move the needle. That's how we relay the voice of our veterans and their families to senior leadership at your organization, at my organization, and across the government and nonprofit and private sector space, so we can do better. So thanks, Jim, for having me here as well. Also, congratulations to Dr. Linda Davis on her award last night. So well deserved as always. I'm not trying to intentionally embarrass her, but congratulations, Linda. It's always great to catch up as well. So really excited to talk a little bit about what we do at the Veterans Experience Office. We've been making some great changes and being involved in some really incredible projects to improve the customer experience and the employee experience at VA. So I'll talk a little bit about what that means. I also want to talk about the PACT Act. Has anybody heard of the PACT Act? Okay, good to go. Right, yeah, thank you all for your efforts in helping getting the PACT Act finally passed and then signed by President Biden only a few short months ago. And since then, we've seen a tremendous amount of applications for claims and enrollment in healthcare. And that's what I want to talk to y'all a little bit about today, so you can see a little bit more about what the PACT Act is and how we can help our mutual customers, our veterans, families, caregivers, and survivors being better informed and make sure that we increase their access to these programs and improve their outcomes. And then finally, I'm going to talk a little bit about something selfishly that I'm really excited about, and that's improving the transition experience, that military to civilian transition experience, which we all know can always be improved. So I'd love to talk about that, and then of course take some questions because I think it's more important to have a discussion. So let's get through this slide deck real quick, and I'm going to try and not pull a Marine move and screw this up. So here we go. Oh, all right. So last December, President Biden signed the Customer Experience Executive Order, which really codified what customer experience means in terms of serving, or in terms of the federal government and how we serve our American citizens and families. What this means for VA is just a validation of all the incredible work that our team at the Veterans Experience Office has done, not only with our partners at VA, but with all of you. And it's just a true testament to Linda's leadership, to the leadership of the agency for continuing to not only maintain the function of the Veterans Experience Office, but grow our capabilities. So this is just a quick timeline I always like to show of where we've come from and where we are now. You can see when the first journey map, does anybody remember the first journey map coming out in 2015? I thought it was one of the best, I think it still is the best document that any agency has put out that really resonates with my customer journey, covering from when you join the military to when you get out of the military, how you thrive, hopefully in civilian life, and then retiring, aging, and then hopefully, being memorialized at one of our phenomenal cemeteries. So really one of the best products I've ever seen an agency put out. And now since then, we've done about 50 of these. And more recently, we did one for the PACT Act. We've just done one for the transition experience, which I'll share with you today. The first bubble you see on the left is our first enterprise-wide trust score. So it's 55% trust in VA in 2016, and that's like a D minus, right? Those are my grades in college. And then fast forward to today, we're at 76% trust, 78%, kind of depending on the quarter that we're in, it kind of goes up or down. And that's an incredible improvement. This is just kind of like our net promoter score for the agency that we do on that quarterly basis. It gets to about 40,000 veterans, so it's a very statistically significant, validated sample size. And then we have surveys for about 140 different business lines. VA outpatient services, which, for example, which is by far and away our largest survey that is taken by veterans every day, that's at 90% trust. So VA has truly come a long way with all of the feedback that we've gotten from you and all of the mutual support that we've been able to deliver. So how do we measure trust, and how do we measure customer experience at VA? So We didn't come up with this on our own. We actually asked a lot of you. We asked our private sector partners and borrowed a lot of the best concepts for that private sector organizations use. So we do it in the 3 E's, which is great for Marines because we can only count to 5 with our 5 fingers. So ease, effectiveness, and emotion. So ease, was it easy for me to park at the facility, whether that's a healthcare facility or a benefits facility, and navigate my way to the clinic or to the office that I need help with? Effectiveness, did I understand what my provider or my clinician or my veteran service representative is telling me? And emotion, do I feel respected in that endeavor? And do I trust VA to continue to deliver the care and the benefits that I have earned? And all of this gives us that real-time signal, or veteran signal, V signals is what we call it, that truly reflects the voice of the customer and allows for us to make critical process improvements and changes to the way benefits and healthcare are delivered at VA. So I always like to say, take your surveys, please, and encourage your customers, your veterans and families, caregivers and survivors to take their surveys. We just launched our caregiver survey, which is going to be really better understanding the experience of the caregiver support program than the program for comprehensive assistance. We need these insights to make these critical improvements. So what does VEO do? Data, tools, technology, and engagement. Once again, 4, less than 5, so I'm good. So data, we take the qualitative, human-centered design insights by sitting down and interviewing veterans and their families about their experience. And when you sit down with someone for an hour, you can glean hundreds of insights from that encounter that you'll never get from a quantitative survey. But on the quantitative side, we have 140 different business lines that now are measured by our veteran signals, or our V signals survey platform. So it's a 1 to 5 Likert scale, strongly agree, strongly disagree, 5 to 7 questions usually. And then we have mini surveys where you can leave feedback, comments, and those comments really allow us to better understand the customer sentiment so we can make those changes and then conduct service recovery. Tools. Taking that qualitative and quantitative data, going out into the field to the facilities, the benefits offices, the cemeteries, and the healthcare facilities across the country, and really training those frontline employees and clinicians and staff on how to deliver a world-class customer experience. And so we've got a lot of, we've seen the data trend upward after we conduct this training, and then we follow that journey over time. Technology. So everyone heard of 1-800-MyVA411? It's our single front door to VA. So if you have customers who have issues, or they want to get connected to VBA or VHA, or they just want to talk to someone about their care and benefits, 1-800-MyVA411, press 0 to speak to someone, press 9 to get to the VA hotline. There's a tremendous amount of worth in kind of relaying that message. So 1-800-MyVA411, I'll say it 100 more times probably. Digital experience, so va.gov, making sure that we're improving the way that veterans and their families apply for benefits, enroll in care, message their providers, check on the status of a claim, file, and making sure that we're getting to as many people as we can. That's all within the technology vertical. And then finally, engagement. Does anyone get the Vet Resources e-newsletter that comes out every week? All right, we got. Well, if you don't, va.gov/vet resources. It comes out every week to about 12 million subscribers. The team curates a number of resources, not only from the VA, but from all of you. So we need content. If you have a program that impacts a specific geolocation, we can work with your State Department of Veterans Affairs, our friends that are on Next, to send out a special issue of Vet Resources for your state. Or if you have a national program or a national offering, we'd love to relay that to our joint customers so that they better understand what's available to them. But it's truly, truly a fantastic partnership. There's a million other things on that slide. I'll just keep going. This is our trust report where we release our quarterly trust scores, and it's called va.gov/trust. We'd love for you to check it out. Make sure, keep us in mind, keep us accountable, and help us increase that trust in VA care. So I want to talk a lot about the PACT Act here and why it's important for all of you. So just like any good new program or bill, it's an acronym, and you can see the acronym here. And you can see the service eras that are impacted. So Vietnam veterans, Gulf War veterans, Iraq and Afghanistan veterans, anyone who's been exposed to toxins, whether that's Agent Orange or depleted uranium or the burn pits, anyone who has been in country and actually been exposed to these, we want them to get the word out and at least file a claim and let us know that you're interested in learning more, and then we'll get you screened and we'll get you enrolled in VA healthcare, and you can choose to use it if you want, but I'm a VA patient and it's world class. So I'd love for you to help us get this word out. So that's the call to action here, is just a little bit more about the PACT Act and how you at the community level can help us enroll more veterans and help get them to file their claims and get them enrolled in VA healthcare. So expanding eligibility for folks that may not have been able to get a claim filed or to enroll in VA healthcare for these specific 23 presumptive conditions. It's helping us better understand the science of how this impacts veterans longitudinally across our customer journey from a healthcare perspective. So the more veterans that we can get enrolled, the more veterans we can get to file a claim, the more we'll understand how to better treat and serve our veterans, and making sure that we're holding ourselves to account. So we're also going to be hiring a lot of new professionals to respond to the PACT Act and make sure that we're delivering a world-class experience, whether you're filing a claim or you're enrolling in VA healthcare or you're getting screened. So va.gov/PACT is the one-stop shop for all information, regardless of your service era, or you can call 1-800-MyVA411, and that's your single front door to get any of your PACT Act questions answered. These are the conditions. There's a lot of things that I can't pronounce on here, but I wanted to write it out for you so you actually can see it for yourselves. I'm going to share my personal experience when sinusitis and rhinitis came out and asthma came out in April, or March actually. We had notified everyone via Vet Resources, so get on the mailing list, that these 3 presumptives are now part of how you can validate your claim and then get served by VA healthcare. I've applied for sinus. I've had chronic sinusitis since 2006 when I got home from a deployment to East Africa. And I'd never had allergy issues before, and now I just got my rating letter back earlier this week, so it's very time appropriate. I got a 0% rating, and now I'm able to be seen by a VA allergist for the rest of my days, and I think that's how important this is. So I can get the Zyrtec, I can get the 2 prescribed nasal sprays that I need in order to be successful and live a much more, I think, comfortable life, because sinusitis is awful. So, but that's just one example. And so va.gov, you can file your claim. Go check in with your veteran service officer, like Wounded Warrior Project, Disabled American Veterans, VFW, American Legion, your state departments of Veterans Affairs, who you'll hear from next. File a claim, and we'd love to make sure you have a wonderful experience. So Vietnam veterans, this is a little bit more information about, if you have friends, relatives, you're a Vietnam veteran yourself, family members, please let them know. Call 1-800-MyVA411, and we'd love to get them the care that they deserve. Gulf War veterans, a little bit more information here, and we're creating specific collateral so that you can share for Vietnam veterans, for Gulf War veterans, for Iraq and Afghanistan veterans. So, like you said, this is the call to action. We'd love for you to help us get the word out and act as our force multipliers in the field. Okay, I'm running short on time because I really want to answer questions. So this is what I wanted to talk about last, is making sure, improving the transition experience and that sometimes difficult transition from military to civilian life. So we did an 8-month human-centered design sprint from November to June of this year, which then launched into a much broader 24-month project that involved 9 agencies. So all 5 service branches, the Department of Labor, Enterprise Department of Defense, VA, Department of Education, HUD, the General Services Administration, you name it, everyone who has a stake in transition is now involved. As a result of that sprint, we came up with these 4 new customer personas. So that 150,000 to 200,000 service members, men and women that get out of the military every year, we were able to kind of distill down from the hundreds and thousands of insights that we gleaned from the design sprint to focus on this. So for example, the lifer, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's somebody who's retired. It means it's someone who's been so ingrained in the military culture that they may not be as prepared as they probably want to be when they make that successful transition from military to civilian life. The true separator, I think we all probably know what types of customers in the expertise you all have, these are, and they may be the most at risk. So how can we better understand the needs of these customer personas and then design programs and services to make sure they have a world-class experience? We created a new journey map based on all these insights. And as you can see, the plus and minus on the far left over there, that's the confidence and that one has as they navigate the journey. And then the minus is less confidence, frustration, confusion that one may feel. And you see right when they get out of when they're at the EAS, ETS date, there's so many things going on and they don't have time. Their command might not have let them out to spend time on there and invest in themselves. And then they could either be incredibly successful and set up when they leave the military or not. So we know that enrollment is down in that first year after service. We know that veterans age 20 to 29 and 30 to 39, our youngest customers, don't trust us as much as our older customers. How do we increase enrollment? How do we increase access to programs? How do we increase trust in VA care and in government programs in general? And how do we get them connected to all of you? All of this and more is what we're going to be focusing on. So for the next 24 months, we'll be working with the 9 agencies I mentioned in a co-design sprint focused on these 4 areas of opportunity at the bottom: transition process, life planning, education and timing, and programs and services, because we want to make sure that we're enabling a more successful navigation from transition from military to civilian life. This is our timeline. You can see the 4 different sprints broken up over the 24-month process. And we're not going to just come up with a gigantic plan at the end of the 24 months. We're going to be designing and prototyping with our customers, our recently separated veterans, our transitioning service members, and their family members, spouses and family members, over the course of that time. So every time one sprint ends, we'll begin prototyping while the next sprint starts. So it's an ongoing process to make changes along the way throughout this 24 months. So with that, I'd love to be quiet and listen to you and answer your questions. So please let me know if you have any. We got about 12 minutes left, and I wish there was more time, but thank you so much for having me, and would love to hear your feedback. Appreciate it.
So John, we do have one question from the app. Will the VRAP program be renewed?
Which one?
The VRAP.
I think they're looking at that right now. So we'll have more information very soon. Perhaps we can, host perhaps we can host for this group of partners a listening session on a briefing on the future of VRAP and really some of the employment programs that are offered now by the experts of the Veterans Benefits Administration that deliver that. So I'd love to do that as an action item.
Okay. Any questions from the audience? Oh.
Hi, I'm Chip Raven. I'm from Warriors and Quiet Waters Foundation. 2 questions. First, as a fellow crayon eater, is it possible to get a copy of your slide deck? Because there's a lot of information in there.
Yes.
That'd be great.
Absolutely.
The second question is...
With crayons.
I have my own. I'm good.
Roger that.
The second question relates to your timeline that you just showed.
Yes.
Imagining how much more productive, fruitful that would be if those who are the veterans that have not yet transitioned, began that while they are still in service.
Absolutely.
Is there any effort to partner with the DoD at large and the individual services to try to get them to allow their service members to begin that process of transition before they even make the decision to transition at all? Thank you.
Absolutely. No, thank you very much for your question. And Simplify, all the 9 agencies is inclusive of Enterprise DoD and the Transition to Veteran Programs Office. which coordinates a lot of the curriculum, policy, and accountability within the service branches. And then each service branch will have 1 to 2 representative, depending on what the co-design sprint is focused on, transition process, life planning, et cetera. So we're bringing the subject matter experts that are actually responsible for delivering transition programs across the enterprise and to bear, so that they can answer the question of how might we deliver a better experience to these transitioning service members and their families and make it a much more immersive experience, taking into account the generational design. A lot of the transition programming now was designed for Generation X and older millennials, right? Most of the military are all Generation Z. A lot of us don't know how to design for that yet. So how can we better understand their needs, better design for how we can reach them in a more digital and mobile environment, because they're digital natives, they kind of grew up with technology, and make sure that we not only understand their needs and understand the way that they consume information, but make sure that we make it a much more immersive experience so that they can enroll in programs, get access to care, and most importantly, connect with you all when they return to the community. And I believe we had another question here. Yes, sir.
Right behind you.
I never hear about. You got you. Oh, you got? Oh, that's weird. Okay. When we talk about the PAC Act, I never hear about those of us that deployed to the Pentagon and those of us that deployed to the Trade Center on 9/11. At the 17-year reunion, I was one of the guys who took the first team into the Pentagon. There's about 200-300 of us, and we all have the same similar exposure issues. And so I'm curious, is there anything, I know there's relatively small numbers, but I'm curious, is there anything being looked in for those individuals? Because some of those guys that were with me at the Pentagon, they didn't deploy to Iraq or Afghanistan, but they've absolutely been exposed.
Yeah, I'd love to take that back and find out more information. I know that there are a lot of other federal programs that serve 9/11 survivors and the families that were impacted by that great tragedy. So I'd love to make sure and take that back. Because it's not always about, it's about where you were and how you were exposed to toxins, and maybe that we can make sure that is included. So I'll find out more. If you can connect with me afterward, and maybe we can exchange emails. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much for all that you're doing to listen, as we heard the importance of that yesterday. John, Dr. Masterson pointed out yesterday that transitions happen across our entire lifespan, and beyond memorialization for our survivors. So can you highlight a couple of ways you're also listening to the complete community, not only of the family caregiver survivor, but the community here?
Absolutely.
And then also, I just got a great, speaking of the vet newsletter, which is free advertising, everybody.
It is.
You have a new announcement out this morning.
Yes.
Of an award you're going to be making, so I want to hear about that.
Yes, thank you. And now that it's public, I can share with you all, and thank you, Linda. We're actually hosting a listening session on the transition experience. So the little teaser I just gave you on what we're working on, we're going to hear directly from our designers and our partners at DoD, DOL, et cetera, on how we're going to be executing this and how you can be involved as a subject matter expert, how you can be involved as leaders in the community that are receiving these young men and women and their families. So we'd love for you to join that. If you're interested, please let us know, and we'll send an invite to you. And we're going to make that a quarterly recurring opportunity for y'all to be a part of. So if you go to challenge.gov, I know I'm throwing a lot of websites out there, but that's the best way to access it. We just released our community Voice of the Customer community engagement challenge. So it's a prize for 2 different organizations, up to $200,000, so about $100,000 each organization, to really deliver an innovative idea or concept, challenging all of you to submit on how we can better engage veterans, families, caregivers, and survivors. And thinking about, yes, the existing customers that we all serve, but think about the millions of veterans and families that are out there that are not connected to you or I, and so we can get them enrolled in programs and increase their trust and hopefully make them more successful together. So challenge.gov, go to there's a bunch of stuff, like there's a bunch of weird, like really awesome, like scientific stuff that I was like, wow, that sounds really neat, like NASA and like NIH putting things out. Look for the VA one. I think we're the only VA one out right now. We'd love for you to apply and learn more about it. So thank you so much. And I'm glad that it just came out too, our Wednesday evening email send. So once again, we do host quarterly listening sessions for all strategic partners. That's led by Andy Martinez. Anyone know Andy Martinez? She's kind of famous, yeah. So we'll be talking about PACT transition in this next one in November. But like I said, we're hosting a standalone briefing for our partners like all of you on the transition experience. Yes, sir, Kevin.
Great question from a fellow crayon eater, so I figured we would take up the room and a little bit of the oxygen here. We talk about the challenge, the collaboration piece, and I thought the question was wonderful about getting to our service members earlier. I think access earlier is the key to a successful transition. But along the lines of collaboration, you mentioned the different services being involved and the different agencies being involved. What is the plan for nonprofits, for the private sector, for a lot of the great companies that have been represented here this week to participate and contribute to that process in the spirit of collaboration?
Yeah, thanks so much. I think that listening session and the quarterly briefings that we're going to be hosting, because we very much want the feedback and the expert insights from all of you who, like I said, work with these men and women and their families once they return to the communities upon transition. So that's the best, those are the best avenues. And then, of course, you can always email me, john.bursler@va.gov. I'm the one and only, terrible last name, so you know, that's what you get. You don't have a number after your name. But also making sure that thinking about like being more proactive, going further upstream in that transition, and like literally it's if someone's going through their A school, enrolling them in va.gov and making sure that they download our VA Health and Benefits mobile app. And so when they put in their projected EAS or ETS date, you know, 3.5, 4 years from then, and we can change that, of course, based on if they want to stay in or re-enlist or continue their career, sending them push notifications that branded material on, did you know that you're eligible for home loan guarantee? Did you know that you're eligible for post 9/11 GI Bill benefits in certain cases? Did you know that you can call a veteran crisis line? And if you or a friend or a buddy, our teammate are experiencing crisis. So there's all these programs and services that are available to active duty service members, so that transition doesn't have to start that year prior, or really in most cases, as you see in the journey map, 90 days out or less. We need to really be helping them prepare for that much further upstream, and then increasing that enrollment into our programs and increasing their trust. That's it? You're going to let me off? Okay. Yes, sir. One more.
Did you say those push notifications that's already there, or something you're working on? That's a great idea.
Yes, sir. And so in some of the research we've been doing on Generation Z is that they don't want to go to a .gov website or a .org or a .com. They want everything in the palms of their hands. They want a mobile experience, a world-class mobile experience delivered by VA, just like they would get with their bank or with their social media accounts. So how do we utilize that capability and then send that information in that medium, knowing that Generation Z doesn't check their vet resources email as much as millennials or Gen X or baby boomers, et cetera, do, knowing that they may not answer that text, or they may not get other notifications via mail. So there's a tremendous amount of opportunity there for us to do it. We're testing it right now, but if you go to VA:health and benefits, that's our flagship mobile app. We're almost at 1 million users. We've got a 4.8 rating, which is like better than Bank of America. So check it out. You can message your provider. You can schedule an appointment, or I'm sorry, you can't schedule an appointment yet. We're working on the reinstituting that function. You can message your provider. You can find information about your appointment. You can find a VA location near you. You can check on the status of a claim. You can do all kinds of fantastic things, pull up forms and letters that prove you're a veteran and prove your service, et cetera. So there's a lot of other functionalities like refilling your prescription and other benefits and services that we want to include in that experience. VA:health and benefits. I had a slide on it. I just wanted to there's so much information out there. I just wanted to make sure that y'all got that. But if you just go Google VA, it's probably one of the first ones that pop up, and we're going to try and integrate as many of the other apps that are in the ecosystem into that experience, that single mobile experience. Okay, I got 48 seconds left. Any final saved rounds? Yes, sir. Fire away.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just feel really compelled to tell you this. The VA is never going to not be funded, right? It's always going to exist. I can't tell you what it means to us to hear the VA talking about the voice of the customer, right? For so long, we've been raging against the machine, trying to get the machine to listen to us. You're headed in the right direction. So if you ever feel like you're banging your head against the wall, we get it, we're listening, and we appreciate what you're doing.
No, thank you very much. And thank you all for keep the voice coming, because the voice of the customer is delivered by all of you, because you're experts in your field, you're leaders in your field. We need your partnership, we need your insights in order to improve the experience. So thanks so much again for having me, and I'm available after this if you want to connect. Cheers.